Right, well, at Any Good Films, we're very honoured to be joined by director Danny Boocock and actors Dan Kratfeldt. I hope I've pronounced that right, Dan, and also actor Jak Corrie. Thank you for joining us all. Really very grateful for your time. So I suppose we should start off with you first, Daniel, as it's your film. Tell us if no one has seen the film yet, tell us what the film's about. Pitch us the story.
Well, on the surface, it's one thing. It would appear that a sort of mysterious figure in a primordial landscape has to deal with the arrival of this bunch of bloodthirsty pack of outsiders. And it's ultimately the big build-up and atmosphere to where those people are going to eventually meet. Though that being said, there are many layers underneath that, many metaphors, influences, and other characters that play the part as well. So yeah, in short, that's basically the crux of it. Okay.
Now, this is sort of one of your first films. I know you've done a short film previous to this. It's a period piece, I would suggest. It's not a contemporary or in the future, is it? Or have I got that wrong?
That's up for you to decide. I mean, it's certainly not, contemporary in an obvious way. Some people think it's the past. Others think it's the future. Some think it's a different place entirely. Everyone's probably got a different answer. But on the surface, you would probably say that it's in the past, before you've watched it anyway.
So calling it a period piece then, and this being one of your first films, period pieces are notorious for being difficult to finance just because of the sheer cost of these things. With the costume, you've got fights, practical effects in this as well, some stunning photography in it as well. Does that make it prohibitively expensive or difficult to finance it?
Yeah, I mean, sorry, the sound's just cutting out a little bit there. Was the question about the expense?
Yeah, and budgeting, getting the film financed.
You there?
Yeah. Can you hear me all right? What I was asking about, Dan, was the getting the budget, getting the finance to make the film, as it is, with all the costumes, the stunning photography in it, the drone shots, and the practical effects as well.
Yeah, obviously, films in general tend to cost money, but you call in favors here and there, and I made sacrifices myself, so did a few people close to me, and you just make everything work to the ultimate maximum with regards to what you have. I think that for how much it actually did cost, the value of it goes far further than what you would actually think, so in terms of the scale and stuff like that. So, we're very economical with what little we had. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. So, Dan, Jak, I have to ask you both now. Coming to the project, can you tell me how you got your roles in this? How you auditioned, or if you had to audition? Because there's no dialogue in the film, so I'm wondering how you went about auditioning and getting your roles in the film.
Daniel, he contacted me over IMDb and asked if I was interested, and I was, of course.
And did you have to audition?
I really don't remember. Did I, Daniel? I think I made a small video, yeah.
And what did you have to do in that?
Oh, I should how to say, I should break out and do crazy stuff in front of the camera.
Okay,
Simon, I think a few of us seem to keep cutting out. I think there might be a little problem. I don't know if it's one of us or if it's the connection itself. Can you hear it all clearly?
Yeah, I can hear you absolutely fine at my end. There's no breakup or anything at my end.
It's probably one of us. Can you hear it, Dan?
Yeah, I'm here. Yes,
Yeah. Jak's disappeared.
here.
Jak, we've lost. Don't know what's happened there, but we'll crack on. So Daniel, you've shot this up on the Isle of Skye, is that right?
That's right. Yeah, beautiful place. Very
It's
brutal as well.
Yeah, it's stunning, but I was going to say it's a pretty bleak and desolate atmosphere up there, even in the height of summer. I'm just wondering, from both your side and Dan's point of view, what was the worst part, most difficult part of filming up there?
Me? I think definitely the weather and the landscape. It was a tough one, and I was freezing my ass off all the time. But it definitely is something that I will do again. For me, it was a once in a lifetime experience, and I'm just happy that I got that opportunity.
Was this shot in the summer or the winter?
No, it was in April, late April, early May. So it's springish, but it's always it's still very cool on Skye around that time. But it was manageable. It was either going to be spring or autumn. Winter would have been too difficult and the colours would have been all off, and summer wouldn't have been practical either. So it was sort of springish with a little bit of winter left.
When you shot up on Skye, did you have any sort of issues? Because it's a pretty rugged place up there, even though it's inhabited. But the landscape you're shooting is pretty rugged. Did you have any problems? Well, first of all, getting permission to film there, filming permits and whatnot, and then secondly, dragging a crew around and all the equipment. They can't have been too happy, and it can't have been too easy for Dan as an actor either. Going around in such an atmosphere.
Oh, it was all easy. Everything about it was easy. Oh, no, a lot of preparation went into it beforehand. I think I'd been up 5 or 6 times before I even begun shooting, so all the groundwork was done. You're still sort of exposed to chance or what the weather can do to you, even with the preparation. But that being said, we kind of knew what we were getting into, and I got to know the land pretty well by that point, and the weather dictated a lot. But that aside, we were all ready to go for what resources we had. And these two trained really well beforehand, as did the others in different ways. And they'll probably, even though I had my eye on the whole project in general, in front of the camera and behind the camera, I suppose these two here had to bring to life the main conflict within the story.
Yeah.
In front of the camera. So they might be able to tell you a little bit more than me about how they would deal with that in that landscape.
Dan, Jak, would you like to expand on that?
Yeah. It was important for me to immerse myself in the character and connect myself with the nature when I first came to Skye in Scotland. So it could feel as realistic as possible and get it in my blood. So I spent all the time I had, when I had the time, to do it all by myself in the mountains, and it was an amazing experience for me to have that, and the mountains in Scotland are so beautiful. So it wasn't easy. It wasn't hard to do.
What about yourself, Jak?
Yeah, I mean, pretty much the same as Dan. You've sort of got to find your inner self when you're up there, and then obviously with the bond we created between us, it made it a lot easier when we could sort of. I'd explain it as, I know Dan's thoughts, Dan knew my thoughts, which made it a lot easier to connect with Dan and get, as Dan said, get it as realistic as possible. So, as I say, when you were up there, you just needed to really connect with your inner self, and you needed to know what everyone was thinking as well as Dan as well. you know, what he wanted, where he was going with certain things. And once we grasped that between myself and Dan, I think that come together very nicely to create a nice realistic atmosphere.
We temporarily lost you a moment ago, but I'd asked Dan about how he got the role. And there's no dialogue in the film as such, so I'm wondering how you have to audition or do a screen test, provide a tape?
Yeah, well, I mean, Dan handed me the script and he sort of gave me the gist of what he was going for and explained the storyline and sort of built on that. So I think what Dan was looking for within this project was like the determination and sort of the raw character. And obviously, as he's explained, I do boxing. Dan trains hard as well. So he was the characters he was going for, and the people he got in within myself and Dan. The lifestyle we've had, I think that sort of took it as well. So once we sort of read through the script and seen where Dan wanted to go with things, obviously it would have been nice to see us together beforehand, but when we come together, it sort of clicked.
So I asked both Dan and Daniel about shooting up on Skye. It's pretty bleak up there. Just wondering what you found the most difficult or unpleasant or hardest element of shooting up there.
Just keep going. Obviously, every day was tough. The weather was harsh. But as I've said in every other interview, what Dan wanted, and when he explained to me and Dan what he wanted out of every scene and where he wanted to go with it, you've just got to grin and bear. I mean, I'd probably say the weather was the toughest thing, but it was that unpredictable. You couldn't let it fear you in a way. So treated it like a fight. You know, you don't know what you're coming up against. You know, you don't know how your opponent's going to be, but you've got to get in there and do the same job you got to do everywhere else, and that's just get the job done. So
talking of fights, you have without giving anything away, but you have fights in this. I'm wondering, did you have a fight choreographer? Was this something that you sorted out yourselves, choreographed yourselves? Was it something that you sort of essentially made up maybe as you went along, or just talk me through the fight?
I mean, as you say, without giving too much away, when it comes to doing that scene, it was sort of what felt right and what fitted in. So, you know, myself and Dan, we've battled through things in life, and we've done certain things as well. So what felt right in that scene and getting it right, we choreographed it collectively choreographed it, I'd say. And yeah, it was sort of what fitted and what went right. So we both know how to have a fight, don't we?
I think my fighting days are behind me.
So yeah,
we had to grapple, really, didn't we?
Yeah.
And well, like I say, there's probably a few other things that, you know, we had to leave out, but it's pretty. It's done the job to a point. Like, you know, when you've got weapons and stuff like that, you'd have to sort of be a bit more careful as well. So it looks pretty good on screen. So for the most part, I think we're quite pleased.
What for each of you, what did you find were the problems? Maybe from yourself, Daniel, was it in terms of the shoot itself, or was it post-production, or were there unforeseen problems that came up for any of you with the shoot? And how long was the shoot as well?
We were up there for about 18, 19 days, I think, because on the prep trips beforehand, you know, I was going up at the very end of winter and early spring, so it was a lot more unpredictable, hence why I waited till April, May, so when the weather eased off just a touch. So we were up there for a little while, and that was so if there was anything was to catch us out, we'd have the time to make it back, but we needed that time anyway. So I wouldn't say it was problems. To me, it was all super exciting, and everyone knew beforehand that, you know, things were going to be a little bit, you know, unexpected at times, but you know, the experience of being so audacious and going to do something like we did in a place as fantastic as that, it was a big adrenaline rush, really. So I wouldn't say there was problems at all. I mean, there could have been, but it was well managed to as much as we could. And like I say, the whole adrenaline rush of doing it and seeing this thing come to life, and, you know, the friendships that have blossomed from it. You know, when are most people going to do something like that again? You know what I mean? So that was my mentality going into it. It was a huge, huge buzz and very addictive.
What about yourself, Jak and Dan?
So, yeah, I mean, it's same as Dan, really. It was overwhelming being up there. So, as I say, I wouldn't really say hard. I mean, yeah, we had the odd days where, you know, the weather was a bit colder and there was certain obstacles that we had to get over. But I mean, to me, it was overwhelming. It was once in a lifetime experience. So when you're up there and you're doing something of that nature, you've sort of got to take in all your surroundings, and, you know, you've got to take a step back every day and just look what you're doing. You know, as Dan said, met some great friends along the way that I will stay friends with for hopefully the rest of my life. You know what I mean? And me and Dan have got a great bond, and hopefully we work together in the future. So all things good from my perspective. I wouldn't really say it was hard.
Dan?
Jak and Daniel said it all. I totally agree to everything, and for me it was a once in a lifetime experience, and something that I'm very proud of. And no, it was not hard to do, and we got a great friendship, and still have, and yeah.
So to put you both Dan and Jak on the spot now, because your director is here, is Daniel a tough director? You are shooting in pretty harsh conditions and uncomfortable conditions. Does Daniel drive you hard? Is he a tough director or what?
No, he is very understandable. He is a tough guy, but he knows what he wants, and he have a vision that are beyond my mind sometimes, but he is really good, and I just love to I love working with Daniel. I really do, yeah.
Jak, are you being driven to doing take after take by Daniel, or?
No, pretty much the same as Dan. I mean, when Danny's got a vision, and we had our little nights where we'd sit down collectively as a three and, you know, explain sort of the plan of attack with the next day. And when Dan explains exactly what he wants, you can see it yourself, and then he'll get it. You know what I mean? There's nothing stopping. So yeah, same as Dan. Once Dan's got a vision and he knows what he wants, and the route what he explains what he wants, it makes it much easier for us to get what Dan wants, if that makes sense. So yeah.
Daniel, I was just going to ask, sort of coming towards the end now, is that you have shooting up on Sky. You've got one sequence which involves a fire, and I'm wondering with that whether you had any limitations as to what you could do, because I'm surprised that with that fire that you were allowed to do a fire of that size, or is that another story?
Can you hear me? You did?
Yeah.
No, there is no limit. You know what I mean? I always knew I wanted to do that kind of shot, and, you know, he spoke to who we needed to speak to, and we were in the middle of nowhere anyway. And like I say, doing it, you know, it's turned out pretty well, and it's, you know, a really effective shot in the film. It symbolizes a lot, and Last Who Done It held his nerve pretty well. So yeah, all the shots were difficult. You know, there's ones in the canoe with these guys, you know, they had to paddle you know, then up Loch Carroish, big mile loch, beautiful surrounding, upwind. But that you know, the whole point of doing it, I think film's going to change, you know, over the next few years. And what I'm trying to do now is to give a sort of spectacle with substance, even within a short. So going forward, you can see the potential of what, you know, it is we're doing together, and whether it's visually, I can prepare as much as I want for a shot. If the actor fails or is not to it, it's over. You know what I mean? So what I was so glad with the film in general is the way the guys got it for the most part, particularly these two who had to sort of, you know, with the many layers in the film of the different story elements, the main crux of it is the conflict between, you know, Jak and Dan's two characters. So with the way they look, the way they move, the magnetism they have, the attitude and aptitude that they have, plus the sort of will, I was so pleased with how it's turned out. And it's only a matter of time before we go again and we'll up the stakes with each one, albeit we're in the setting, whatever the setting, should I say. But yeah, it will always be big. It will always try and push the boundaries. I'm not one for a normal type of short or a normal type of film, you know, that can be basically redundant or very basic to do. To make it exciting for us as a unit or as individuals, we always want to try and raise the bar. And I think the Neolith does that, particularly for the short. So long may it continue and bring them all on, as far as I'm concerned.
So finally then, what can we expect from you all next?
Who do you want to answer first?
Well, I guess if you go first then, Daniel.
Well, there's a few things. A few people have reached out now about what I would like to do next, and there's lots of blueprints to do, albeit, you know, some of them have big budgets, and I think we would probably have to do one or two things beforehand. You know, we will get to that just only from a financial perspective. But what I would like to do with these guys pretty soon is a contemporary piece. It's high octane, high end again. You know, it's got that sense of adrenaline and dread, and I would like to do that this autumn, and that would be a prelude for a teleseries. And I think we can get that done, provided a few other things fall into play, but I don't see why not, and whatever comes up in between. But the goal is to go big, as and when, and if these two are up for it, then I'd be very happy if they're to come in on it as well.
Excellent. Dan, Jak, what's up next for yourselves?
Well done.
I don't know. Right now, everything is going a little bit slow, of course, because of the corona. But I hope to work both with Jak and Daniel again, and I think they definitely have so much to offer, both of them, and yeah. So
okay, and what about you?
But about,
sorry, Dan, go on.
Yeah, no, it's okay.
So Jak, and what about yourself?
Yeah, Dan said it's pretty slow at the moment. I know who knows what to come. There's things coming off all the time, so just gotta grab it as and when it's right. But in terms of working with Dan and Dan again, and no questions asked for myself, I'd jump in with the pair of them anytime on any project, to be honest. So yeah, see, not much you can do with COVID looming at the moment, but hopefully past them we can get the industry back to where it was beforehand, and obviously get back to everything else.
And then finally, Daniel, where can people see your short?
You can see it online now. It's on my site, which is claretandbluefilm.com/the Neolith. It's on Vimeo. All you have to do is type into Google the Neolith, Neolith, and it'll be the first thing that comes up. So yeah, it's accessible now, and the more people who see it, the better, because then word gets around and ups the odds of going again. But autumn's the plan. Autumn's the plan now.
Great. Okay, thank you very much for your time, guys. We really enjoyed the Neolith, and it looks stunning. It really does. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.